Hey everybody, we're going to call this project a kind of cross contour. The idea of cross contour is where you would draw a line and where something seems to come toward you, you draw it at an upward or downward angle depending on what is necessary, and then if that thing is raised, that line continues on higher, just like here on my little card. So let's get started with this. This is the little still life I have set up for the cross contour project. Yes, it is soap and water. Yes, that is a COVID-19 joke. In case you're watching this video in the year 2084, there was this disease called COVID-19 in the year 2020, in which I had to shoot videos for my class as opposed to being able to go to school actually. So you can see I already have the basic contour sketch already done to save a little time, and I've picked out several colors. Now, this could be done in one color or just black and white, but I thought I'd add a little something to it by picking out a color scheme. So I'm not going to be worried about realistic color for what I'm looking at all. In fact, my still life is basically all white and gray. So I'm going to make it this analogous color scheme with these blues and greens and yellows. So the important thing is to sort out which ones are the lightest and which ones are going to be the medium and which ones are the darkest. So I actually took a little scrap piece of paper here and sketched out some lines on each one of them. The yellow is very, very, very light, so I might have to use a little bit of this light blue. I kind of wanted to limit myself to 3 colors. So this green is going to be my medium tone, so that's going to be the bulk of the drawing. And this blue is one of the darker ones. However, this green really reads just about as dark as it, so I may use both of those in areas where I need it to be really dark. Now typically I would start a drawing by doing all my darkest darks first, but I think this is going to make more sense to go in with the medium tones first, because I can do more lines, more longer lines, so hopefully you get a better sense of what cross contour means. I'm also going to be moving my paper around a lot because you might have noticed if you practice drawing a lot, a line that curves this way or like that is much harder to draw than a line that curves like that for a right-hander. So hopefully that all stays in frame here, and we'll go ahead and get started. So for this I'm going to put in a lot of line to start with, and I'm working again the idea of the contour of the object. So since this thing is round or roundish, I'm going to follow that curve and make my medium tones, only my medium tones. I'm not going to color the whole thing in. I'm going to make my medium tones this medium green. It's darker over here, kind of medium right through here, and then the highlights over here. So just going to very, very controlled sort of way make these medium lines. The other nice thing about starting out with the medium tones is that some of our colors are going to overlap, so it's not going to be a big deal if I need to go in here with darker. I can just go right over into what's already my medium tone. Now I've got some shiny things going on in this drawing, so I want to make sure that I pay real close attention to that. So there's a really dark stripe right there and a light stripe, a little reflected light back here. This area is more of a medium. Now here's where we get into some decisions where I said this is a kind of cross contour. We're not going to be real enslaved to the actual concept of drawing one straight line and then going around that and then coming all the way across. So I get a little bit of leeway here. So now this area up here is much more flat. So I could go this way, which I think is going to be the decision I make. I could also kind of come out almost in a spider web sort of design, but I think I'm just going to go to show that it kind of bows a little bit. This will go slightly up, and as it comes out on the other side, I'm going to make it go slightly down. And that kind of gives you that sense of that being a different plane. It's changed directions there. Even these short little lines, I'm making sure that I'm following the curve. So as I come on over here, they're going to be curved up more. Not going to make the mistake of disregarding my background. Got a curving piece of cloth back here, so trying to think of which way I want to do that. It seems to come in a little bit, so now I can work on this cup. Again, another reflective thing, so there's some light stripes in it here and there. So as these lines curve in, this is going to be more the dark area over here. But you got to picture that you're just drawing, you're following your pen right on the inside of that cup. So those lines are going to curve as though they're curving around, as if they were literally drawn on the physical cup itself. Basically just follow this oval. Also want to make sure that where my pencil line is, there's a little bit of a highlight in some spots, so I'm going to end up erasing this pencil line out later. So I want to not go over it. I don't want to re-outline the whole thing. So I'm going to work just underneath the lip of the cup. Again, here you can see I'm going up to the line but not hitting the line. That way when I erase this, that'll be a lighter edge. Actually, right specifically there, it's going to be darker because I'm going to go over that with the dark blue. But I don't want to create a contour drawing with the pen. We want the cross contours to make the contour seem to magically appear. So that should be good for my medium shades for now. Obviously I can always go back in and do more, and I'm sure I will. But I want to get to the dark stuff so that I can really start to see more of the three-dimensionality of this before I make any more decisions. So to start off the dark stuff, I'm going to start with this darker blue pen. I may use the dark green as well. And I'll just go right in and around the other colors. Go back and get a little more of this medium color in here. It's not coming over quite far enough. It's important to get this background lines up against the edges of the object so that those objects will end up showing up where there isn't a dark edge. You need to have that contrast to create the edge. So anywhere, for instance here, I'm looking at that and the ground there is lighter than the cup is, so I really need to extend these green lines on over. Now at this point you can really start to see the drawing taking shape. So everything I do from this point out is just going to be playing around with trying to push my values. I'm going to get this yellow in here around some of my highlight areas and then some of the areas in my background just to flesh out the drawing a little bit more. And then I may go back in and push some of these, make some more dark lines to make the whole thing even darker. I want to see what this yellow is going to do. And this part's much more like hatching. I'm not actually drawing straight lines. I'm doing a bunch of little tiny lines to keep it looking like the cross contour, but just kind of filling in some areas. Push some of these values. And then the real test comes when you go to erase your lines. I like to use a kneaded eraser, but that's mostly just because they're fun. They do seem to work really well for me. But for this, anything should work. Hopefully we won't be smearing any of our pen lines like I already did right there. Drip of water. So if you get all your pencil lines erased out of there and you can still tell what you drew, then you probably did a pretty good job. Of course, you also have enough information in there that you could easily go back and do a little more if you felt like it was necessary. I see some places that I think could use a little bit of attention. And just because there's no yellow over here, I'm going to get some in there. So in the end, you end up with this neat little graphic design style artwork that looks fairly contemporary and is hopefully interesting to you. So that is a kind of cross contour.